Hey guys, this is 3+Kei. I'm here to encourage you to pursue the smile by prioritizing the Lord, your physical health, and persistent education. And we are here today with the one, the only, Ben.
Hi.
Okay. And so what we're doing today, guys, it's episode 3 of Entering the Chat. What do you think about Jesus? And Ben, the podcast I was listening to today is Megan Ashley's In Totality. And the topic is having a healthy church community around you. And this is something that I've talked about ad nauseum and at length, my own experience of being in the church, attempting to find friends, attempting to find not just community, but like meaningful dialogue and people that likewise point me toward Christ and receive me pointing them toward Christ. So in that regard, do you have a church community, and what is your experience in that?
Yeah, the church that I attend does have they're really into community. I'm kind of the quiet type, so a lot of times I kind of dodge out, but
yeah.
There's always things to do, and anytime I've ever needed help with anything, just call. They have free counseling services, free auto repairs, just about anything a person could need. If you need it, you just call, and if they don't have it, they can get you set up. So it took a lot of churches before I got to that one, but been pretty happy.
What makes a healthy church, or what characteristics do you pinpoint in the church that you're in now, where you said this is home for me?
The biggest thing is being really true to the Word of God. And even if it's brutally so, that's my main thing. Mm-hmm. I don't want anyone sugarcoating anything, and I want to have a preacher that really believes in what he's talking about. Mm-hmm. Not someone who just, hey, I'm gonna go be a preacher,
Mm-hmm.
Because I have had friends that actually did that in their life, and it's just like, all right, you do your thing, but you know that they weren't really with it. And one thing I do really respect at the church, with the church that I go to, is even though it's a rather large church, the pastor only takes $35,000 a year. That's his salary.
Really?
Yeah. Most of the people that work there make more than he does.
How does he make his money?
They have a house supplied by the church. His wife works for the church.
Yeah.
So in between both of them, but yeah, he works on basically, that's always been the thing at that church, is they don't want pastors to make money. It's about the words. So, and all the money that they use, like, well, you've seen some of the programs.
I've benefited from some of the programs.
Yeah, but so it's all about putting the money back into the community, and that's what I really like about it. Like a lot of people, like, oh, churches, they rip people off, they should be taxed. Mm-hmm. Well, this is a church where they really put their money where their mouth is, and there would be no need for any social programs if the churches took care of things the way they're supposed to.
That's true, and I'll extend on that. The church that Ben goes to, you guys know both of my kids came to me through the foster care system, and Ben's church, as a part of their mission, really leans into the foster care and adoptive community. And so there's a guy there, and I don't think he'll mind at all. He's the owner of Honesty Auto. And they sent me to him because his deal is that he will fix the cars of people that are fostering and adopting. And so he's fixing my car, and it was an obscene amount of money that he put into my vehicle so that my daughter could move in. And I was talking to him. I said, how do you do this? It's almost like you're giving money away. And I wasn't a believer at the time. And he said, God is so good to me that as long as my kids can go to this Christian school and my bills are paid, everything over that I put back into the foster care and adoptive community. And I had never heard of such a thing before. And I want to take it back to something that Afton said in episode 1. Afton had a friend named Paul. And when I asked her, what do you think about Jesus? She said, well, my friend Paul was always talking about Christ and always living out what Christ teaches, right? And so all she knew about Christ was who her friend Paul was and how he poured into his community. And I think about that with people who are not believers, you know, who might stumble across a church food bank, a church automotive program, a church child care program. And I think that's just so powerful of what the church could be and should be. Yeah. And so what does your faith walk look like? How do you live out Christ and the gospel in your own life?
Well, for me, being kind of a reclusive person, I don't get to do a whole lot of evangelizing the way I would like to. But I try to on my social medias, at least. You know, years ago when, like, out of all my friends, I was the first one that I saw ever really posting like Bible verses on my Facebook, you know, like everyone was afraid to, you know, and I just kept posting and I'd have, you know, on occasion, you know, friends reach out to me like, can you tell me more about Jesus? It's never been like a real ministry or anything, but you know, it's been kind of the way that I can figure out for a shy person like myself to exercise the Great Commission, you know, but I'm hoping at some point, even though I have like my fish channel on YouTube, I do want to at some point build a kind of more of a Christian based channel, but I'm also not the type to get onto big trends. And it seems like there's getting to be a lot more like that area is getting busy right now. It's like, maybe I'll wait a little bit, you know, until, you know, it's not quite as hot of a thing and try to get in on it. But
so you do have a YouTube channel. Can you talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah. For me, like going on Facebook and, you know, I was into fish breeding, stuff like that. And especially on Facebook, you go onto the forums and the posts there and all the people with all the really nasty things to say about you can't raise fish this way, you can't do it that way, you're going to kill all your fish, you know. And for me, I have a pretty extensive knowledge in, you know, biology and microbiology, so I can make videos showing people the reality, you know. So instead of everyone fighting back and forth, you know, it's like, hey, this is, you know, here's some video of it happening. This is the way it works, you know. So that was kind of why I started it. It was just to, you know, for one, there was stuff I couldn't find online. It's like, well, if I'm going to experiment, I'm going to record it so other people can learn from my mistakes. And then there was also the education, you know, doing things with my tanks that a lot of people might be considered difficult, you know, but just kind of knowing how ecosystems work, I can, do some pretty cool stuff with my tanks.
Yeah. And you're like, just so you know, I've known Ben for 13 years now. I believe. And we've been kind of like in and out of each other's lives. And then a few years ago, I moved back to Montana and accidentally called his workplace. And it was like, Ben, Lakeitha, blah, 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 like that. And so we reconnected. Before, like 10 years ago, I was not a believer. Ben was somewhat a part of my fostering journey. He knew my first kid, and I'd get calls like, hey, your kid is like popped out the window, or they ran away, or whatever the case might be. But this time around, our friendship has really, like, it's been pretty Christ-centered, I would say. Mm-hmm. We go to different churches, but sometimes I go to Ben's church, and sometimes he comes to my church, the men's group. The men really like you. I don't know if I told you that, but they really respect you. They were somebody's wife was talking about what the men were saying about you, and they just have a very major respect for you. And one thing I appreciate about Ben is not only his, like, your biblical knowledge, but your encouragement for my pursuit of knowledge, sharing the gospel, sharing Christ with other people. As Ben was saying, people can be really mean online. I would say nightly. Nightly on the live stream, somebody is saying something they shouldn't be saying to me. But you said something that was very encouraging. You and another guy named JD Partain, who I hope to get on here at some point. And that is, when you're sharing the gospel, when you're sharing Christ, you will come under attack, and you just need to keep going with that. And I hear you saying about the fish channel, that there's like this ugly space even within the fish channel. You spoke about maybe starting a Christ-centered channel. What do you, like, if you'll talk about it, what do you envision it being? What is it? What are you thinking of?
So I'm not a very good conversationalist, but I could probably monotone read the Bible, but I was thinking about doing like maybe Bible reading from the river, going up into the woods. There's something that happens right as the sun is coming up in the middle of summer at about 4 a.m. where up in the woods, it's almost deafening from the birds. Mm-hmm. There's like, all you hear is just silence, and then the birds start waking up, and you just have this full, sound, like bombardment that almost make you feel like you're going crazy.
Yeah.
But it's really cool to hear and experience. And I thought, if I could record something like that and then maybe do some Bible reading, overlay, or maybe try to do it both at the same time, but just so people could experience Montana nature and some Bible reading, and maybe occasionally do some live streams with some commentary and questions. But I think most of it would be kind of pre-recorded, lightly edited maybe. Once I learn how to edit. I don't know how to edit yet.
Oh my gosh, that's exactly why I do one-shots, actually, because I don't know how to edit and don't necessarily want to.
My idea of editing is hit pause on the record, and then reposition, then hit resume, and then if I give it too much time, everything deletes and I have to start all over again.
Right. So when would you start to work on a channel like this? Or are you in the beginning stages?
Kind of more the thought process on it right now, and trying to learn YouTube with my existing channel. Yeah. Kind of figuring out the algorithm and, how to manipulate it for getting better, more audience and stuff. But just kind of learning how to do everything on my fish channel, and, eventually, it's probably like a 2-year goal, getting the other one going. But, also thought it might be fun to sometimes I go up in the wood and pick huckleberries. That's not really fish related. Instead of having that on my fish channel, just showing God's creation and going out there and doing that on that channel, just to, but it's going to be a little while yet. Just, I struggle to come up with one video a week for my fish channel right now. So trying to do more right now, I'd be like,
No, I know. And what's the fish channel called?
Lake Missoula Aquatics and Plants.
Lake Missoula Aquatics and Plants. Lake Missoula Aquatics and Plants. Lake Missoula Aquatics and Plants. And so we didn't talk about this, but does your faith, is that incorporated into your fish channel at all?
Not really. I have prayed for people, on live streams before. It's a pretty tight community, and we chat a lot actually through Messenger. And usually, if someone needs a prayer, we'll do it that way.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of faith-based people in the community.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really talk about it a whole lot on there, but there's a couple people that kind of live nearby, like one gal named Juanita. She's probably in her 70s, lives over in Idaho, over on the hill, and I'm always keeping an eye out for lightning in the mountains, because she lives in a place where they have to haul the mail in by jet boat to get to her house, because she's not on a road to get regular mail delivery. They can helicopter it in.
Oh, wow.
Or they take it up the rivers on jet boats, because it's like just miles and miles of river, to get up in the mountains where they live. But her husband was a doctor, and she was a nurse, and they bought a large cabin out in the middle of nowhere, and now they're stuck out there. So if there's fires or whatever, so always keeping an eye out over the mountain for them, keeping them in my prayers.
Yeah, you're a guy. So I don't know if you guys get the sense, Ben is a very solid guy. My cousin calls it foundationally strong. He's like a quiet man, but a solid man. And so I want to say this. When I think of how Christ tames a man, you would think that the outcome would be a man like Ben. He's quiet but kind. He is stoic and strong. He is very loving. He's not an over flatter, like he's not an over complimentary guy. But I will say this, and I don't know if you've noticed, whenever I'm not a very insecure person, but Ben and I are friends enough that sometimes I do express an insecurity, sometimes mainly with like the YouTube channel, or like somebody hurt my feelings or something like that. And Ben is like the type of person you can really confide in. And so I know a little bit more about his background, but could you talk about when you and Christ crashed?
Well, I kind of have the story of came from a Christian family and always spent my time in, life in church, but about 15 years ago, lost everything I had, made a decision. I just kind of remember at that moment, looking, and like everything turned blue, lost all my wind. And, it was just at that moment, and I felt the thunder of God saying, you shouldn't have done that. You said you wouldn't do that again. And I did it. And he squashed me. He squashed me into the ground, and I lost everything. For a whole summer, I was relying on eating outdated rolled oats that my grandmother got on it was like an elderly feeding program, but she had a bunch of get outdated, and I'd take that. And then carrots. I had just by miracle, the year before I grew carrots, and then they grew all over the yard. And so the year I had no money, I had lots of carrots. So God supplied me with food for that year, and just really humbled me. And, you know, I was working a job where I was making about $75,000 a year, and had loans out, maxed out everything I could afford. And then I went to $20,000 a year with those loans. And the place I ended up working is a place that I used to make fun of other people. You know, it's like money. You know, you think that it doesn't take power over you. But I remember it's like those people that work at that place, you know, and it was always, I thought I was better than them. And, you know, I knew I wasn't better than them, but, you know, it just really took God, like, pulling those reins back. It's like, whoa, boy, you better get in line, you know. And he just, he crushed that pride out of me and made me work for 10 years in the place that I made fun of people for working at. And actually ended up becoming pretty successful there, and then moved on. But, you know, it was kind of that was my moment. It was just crushing my pride, you know. And from that time forward, you know, I had devoted myself. It was in that process of losing everything that it was like, what else are you going to take? What else are you going to take? And every time I said that, he took something else and took something else. And finally, all I had left was my parents, my sister, and, you know, her family. And, you know, it's like, I didn't want to lose them and keep saying, what else can you take? You know, so it was like, this is what you have, and be thankful for it. And I learned to be thankful for having nothing but family. Wow. And then kind of from there, it was just kind of trying my best to work with him. I've gone astray, you know, I've had tough times, but it's from that time forward where I felt intimate with him, like he was with me, and I knew that no matter what I'm doing, he's right there. Yeah. Either to keep me in line or give me an attaboy. You know?
Right. That's how that kind of goes. You know, I won't so much go into my own testimony, but it was a lot of crushing. The short of it is I've always been, excuse me 1 second. That was an alarm. That'll pop up later. But I've always been a fairly like friendly, outgoing, kind of like popular person, always in the mix, doing this, that, and the other. And the Lord brought me to him, and immediately just put me in isolation, essentially. Put me in situation after situation, including with my dad's side of the family. Just rejection after rejection after rejection. And all I had was him. It was a major crushing. And I look back sometimes, and the one thing that has been consistent with the Lord is the provision in the way of the manna. As in, like, well, you're not dead. Yep. You know, like you have a roof over your head. Never mind that you're living with 9 other people, but and they isolate you or they reject you. You have a roof over your head. You have food to eat. You know, never mind you're going to like the food bank and all of this. The Lord has always been faithful to me. However, my walk has been short. And so there comes a point sometimes, and not with everybody, I've noticed, not with every Christian, just because you're with the Lord and the Lord is with you. Some people are blessed just consistently, and then that's their story, right? And some of us, for whatever reason, the Lord will like wring us out until there's nothing left, but we're left with a towel to kind of dry ourselves off with all the same. He really does provide at the end, and I feel so fortunate to be saved.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, there's not a person. I was trying to describe this the other day. In life, every relationship is so conditional, even if it seems like it's not. You know what I mean? Like I think about my parents or my kids or whatever the case might be. They love me, I love them, but you do the thing, the unthinkable thing, and all of a sudden there's a rift. And the Lord is so gracious to give you opportunity after opportunity to come to him, and he never stops pursuing you. So where are you now? What is your relationship with the Lord look like now?
I've been going through some struggles lately. Some idolization that I've been trying to take care of, and just just kind of gone not where I want to be. There was a point in my life where, like the pray without ceasing. And it's like every time I did anything, like I was able to pray my way through it. Like every break at work was prayer time. And I remember like any time I saw something that would maybe irritate me, it would become, don't let it irritate you. Pray for that person, pray for that situation. And I was so good at it for a while. And that when you're in that mode of just praying for everybody, being thankful for everything, and just not completely cutting your own pride out of it, that's the best living I've ever had. And I want to get back to that someday. I'm not there,
Yeah, that's honest.
That's, I've got my routine prayers, my morning and night, but it's, it's more of I have to make sure to at least get these prayers done. It's not like continual prayer, and that's where I want to be, but I'm not there yet. I'm still have some anger wrestling with Jesus right now.
And somebody's watching this and like that's where I'm at right now. And so what do you think? I heard this when I was in this space in Georgia. I had read something or heard something to the effect of, when you don't feel like praying, pray anyway. Like how you pray at the morning and at night. And if you guys follow the live stream, I have live streamed my own wrestling with the Lord and depression and this type of thing. And what the person was saying way back then was, pray anyway, and even when you don't feel like it or want to, even if it's by rote, even if you're reading Psalms, right, out loud to the Lord, because at some point it will authenticize and it'll become more pure. What do you think about that? Kind of a strategy, or if you will.
Anytime being in the Word, that, similar to prayer, that constant being close, and the Lord loves those who seek to be closer to him. So even if you're not feeling like praying for specific people, but you want to read through his words or his songs or what he had left for us, he enjoys all of that. So I think anything you can do to get yourself closer to the Word, closer to the Lord, that, all that's working your way there. And, even, like reading the Bible, even before So as a child, all I had was the King James version.
Oh.
And not the new King James version, the old King James version. And so understanding what I was reading was difficult. Now, by the time I was 20, I know that I'd read it completely through probably at least 300 times.
Mm-hmm.
When I got old,
300?
300 times before I was 18. Yeah, through the King James version. It was just like I've always had ongoing Bible reading throughout my life. But the King James, and it wasn't like front to end, it was like constantly,
Yeah.
I usually skipped the chapters about the genealogy and stuff like that,
yes. And then
it's
let's yeah.
And the ones that I pretty, like Matthew's one that I had memorized pretty much as a child.
Wow.
So I'd kind of skip through that, and James, but those were my favorites,
Yeah.
But I always kind of part of where everything changed for me was coming to a realization in Matthew. I know it's a little off subject from the question, but the place that I always was kind of hung up on was you will not enter the kingdom unless your faith is better than that of the Pharisees and the scribes and whatever. And for me, just having a dictionary as a kid, it's like the religious professionals, the top in the church. And it's like, well, you're saying the top in the church won't even get it. How will some farm boy like me ever be able to be saved,
Yeah.
And then it wasn't, until getting older and also kind of reading. Now, I don't want to cause Bible wars. I love them all. And if she can see right over there, those are all Bibles on this rack.
Oh, wow.
I have Greek.
There's
there's
like 3
I have Aramaic.
stacks.
I have about every translation.
You have Aramaic, really?
Yeah. I wanted to show you that because there's been times that you've been looking at the different and you're like, well, what do these mean? Well, you can actually get back to the root word and like, oh, that's what it means.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Raise your hand if you would like to see more live streams with the Secret Heart Club featuring Ben. I know Affin is a regular. Raise your hand. Put it in the chat. Put it in the comments if you want to see Ben and our Secret Heart Club more.
But kind of where I was going with that is when I realized that, they were the professionals of the time, but they were hypocrites or Hippocrates or however they say it there in Greek in the Bible. But people who treat the world as a stage. And my whole life I'd fought against people who were all about image and not substance. And that was always my thing, is just seeing people that would talk to you one way and then go talk to somebody else and smile and, just the deception. And that's always been it's like, let your yeses be yeses, let your no's be no's.
Hello.
And just be honest, it's it might hurt a little bit, and fortunately they've trained society to be afraid of hurting people's feelings instead of being honest. So it's even harder now than ever to be honest with people because you're afraid you're going to hurt somebody's feelings, and I kind of come from the sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
Oh
crowd,
my gosh! And I'm so sensitive.
80s, I know.
I'm soft-hearted for sure.
It was right around 1986 when they officially removed Christianity from the schools that they started the whole treating yourself as a god, like you're special, you're unique, and it changed from maybe a neutral society to a very self-centered. Just the public schooling, the way public schooling was training kids. Just
to stop you right there, 1986 this happened.
1986.
Could you talk a little bit about what that was?
It was the separation of church and state. So up until that point, you could still have Bibles at school. We actually read prayer in school. My first, second, third grade, I think, is when that all changed. But they had this big idea, let's remove Bibles from school because it's... they pervert the Constitution with the separation of church and state, saying that you need to be separated from all church. But that wasn't you read the way it was written, it was, you're not forced to be Catholic. You're not forced to be Protestant. You're not forced to be Quaker. You can choose whatever religion. It's not removing people from religion wasn't the original intent, but that's the way the well, the constant fight against the Antichrist,
Mm-hmm.
paving the way ultimately for the Antichrist,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and whittling away on people with the falling away of the church. And, you know, who knows when that'll be. It could still be thousands of years, but there's a lot of signs.
Right, I know. Come now.
Yeah.
Well, so I was thinking, I wanted to tell you about this YouTube channel that I stumbled across, and I don't know if the guy is Christian or like what his background might be. Excuse me, we got it again, guys. I apologize. I don't know what his background is, but essentially the premise is this. He pretends like he's hungry. He goes to poor neighborhoods and he goes to where the homeless are, and he pretends that he's hungry. Or that he's sad or something like that. And he strikes up a conversation, and somewhere somebody maybe in a car or something is like filming it. It's not like up close like the fake videos do. And ultimately he kind of like gets them to show kindness. So two of my favorites, he's just walking through this like obviously impoverished neighborhood and walks up to an older man and strikes up a conversation. And he says, "Oh, I'm so hungry." And the guy's like, I just have 2 bananas, and he's like, "Oh, so hungry." And the guy's like, "Do you want a banana?" He's like, "Oh my gosh, are you sure?" So that's one. So he shares a banana with the guy. And another one, I think like I said, the camera was like in a car nearby, but he walks up to a homeless lady making and selling artwork on the street, and she's behind on her rent, as it would turn out. And the influencer, the YouTube guy, is like, "It's my birthday. I'm so sad. Nobody wished me happy birthday." And she says, of course, like, "Well, I have these paintings." And he's like, "Well, how much are they?" "Oh, I don't have the money, blah, blah, blah." And ultimately she's like, "Well, it's your birthday. You can have one." He's like, "How much would you normally sell it for?" She's like, $60, but I want you to have a good birthday. Point is, he gives out $1,000 to the people he ends up talking to after they show him some kindness. And one of my core values I talk about all the time is being kind on purpose. And the thought process, what I would love everybody to have is, if you knew someone was going to give you $1,000 for a kind act, you would do it. You would do it cheerfully. You would do it quickly. You would do it competently. But we don't really do that. We don't do that. If we can't see, many times, if we can't see what's in it for us, then we don't do it. Likewise, we would if we had the $1,000. And so kindness is a fruit of the Spirit. How do you see Christ working through your life? How do the fruits present themselves in your life?
Well, in this stage of my life, it's just been mostly, as far as my fruit, just been really my ability to help people, friends.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have much money, so I can't help much like financially, but over the years, a lot of people have come to know me, and unfortunately there's been a lot of, one of the things lately is a lot of women who've been bad on luck and make bad decisions with men having to move out of their house in an emergency.
Yeah.
And I've got a truck, and they like me, trust me. So, it seems like every 3 to 4 months I'm helping someone move, and that's been one way that I can kind of share fruit. I'm hoping eventually to be able to do that through my channel, or just right now, kind of with what I'm struggling with, makes it hard for me to even be out in public sometimes, without breaking down and crying, like going to Walmart, here's some kids or something, and just have to go to a different hall and wait for my face to dry up, So once I can get kind of my confidence back there, be better at approaching people, but I'm still just kind of in a dark tunnel, working my way out. And I can see the light. Yeah. I've got a flashlight now, but still not in the light. So not growing much fruit currently.
I mean, listen, I was thinking about you. I was driving here on Russell, and I'm starting this ministry. For those of you that don't know, it's Pursue the Smile Ministries, and we'll talk more about it in September. But part of it is the James House, which is a Christian long-term group home for adolescent boys. Part of it is 3+Kei, which is just kind of the face of evangelizing and what will be teaching people how to go out into their communities and evangelize and this kind of thing. And so, as with any of us, there's people who scoff at us. There's people who don't believe in us. And so anyway, I was driving down the street and I was thinking about the people who believe in what I'm doing. And I was actually driving Uber Eats earlier, and the guy was saying, we were just talking about people who support us and the things that we're doing. And you are on a very short list of people I can that God has sent to me. This is a discouraging thing that I'm trying to do. I am I am nightly probably discouraged. And there's a very short list of people that see Pursue the Smile Ministries. And it's not that it just exists, but there's a power, a manpower, a female, whatever, a manpower behind it to drive it. And at this point, it's me. But you've been so encouraging, and you do come to church with me. Ben's my only Christian friend. I have too many friends. I don't even know if I like all of them, to be honest. You know what I mean? It's just, I've known you for all this time, and, I guess we used to drink together is a lot of what I've got going on. But in the way of your fruits and how you've impacted me, the generosity of your time, the kindness of your words, the listening to me. You guys could probably tell I talk a lot, and Ben will just sit and listen to me, and I can share ideas, and he's encouraging. He is quite the man. Quite the man. If I had sons, I would hope, a comparable man is my revered dear cousin, a comparable Christian man. And so I reject that your fruits are not fruiting, that they're not there. I very much so just reject that. And you've been very impactful to me, and I'm very grateful for you. You've actually been here every step of the way. Now that I think about it, I had this big presentation in December. Only 3 people. I invited 100 people. Only 3 people came. Guess who was there standing quietly? Ben. So remember that. Let's get to the question at hand. We're deep in this by now. Let's get to the question at hand, and that is, what do you think about Jesus?
For me, just it's my everything. That building that relationship, with him, I think is cornerstone to anything in life. The struggles I'm going through now, as an example. Before I had the confidence of Christ, there'd be, could be thoughts of suicide. There could be thoughts of lashing out and taking my own justice, all sorts of unbiblical things that could consume my thoughts. But with Christ, I have that confidence that, he'll forge you in the fire, and he'll forge you for a long time. But when he's all done, it's going to be better. And I know from going through tough times in the past that when it seemed like everything was gone and I had nothing else, at the end it was an improvement in life, and I think I'm kind of going through another one of those kind of things right now where it's I let myself get too, idols, I idolized too much, and so those idols have been taken away from me, and I just need to try not to think about the hurt and just think about my love for Jesus. And yeah, I'm mad at him. I love him enough and feel confident enough that I feel I can be mad at him, and that's okay. I think he understands why. I know that he wants me to get out of this rut, but, trying to work my way through it. But Jesus is everything to me. It's, I wouldn't be here without him, He'd be dead or in jail.
Yes. Ben, I have something for you. And if you're if you're watching this video, you might not understand, and I'll explain it to you. If you're watching from the live stream, behind the scenes live stream, you'll completely understand. Are you ready?
Okay. Do I have to close my eyes?
Okay. I'm not big on presentation.
And they made it. More than one even, huh? Wow.
So, I got Ben. One thing I wrestle with, guys. The Lord's working on me, okay? I wrestle with a little thing called self-control.
Art cakes.
And I get these art cakes. They're gourmet cupcakes. And I get them for other people. I have not yet successfully, until just this moment, delivered an art cake to a person.
Made it to the destination.
I never made it. I will sit here and eat your art cake and then tell you about it. Because if you sin against a person, you want to confess that sin, repent, I won't do it again, even though I continuously do it, and then ask for forgiveness. But that's what I just brought Ben. It was not one, but 2 art cakes. And I just want you to know how much you mean to me that I didn't eat it. I didn't eat it. Are there any last thoughts that you have, Ben, on Jesus?
I think just no matter how much pain you're going through, and some people, like, they're going through the pain and the last thing they want to do is think that God's trying to tell them something. They just want to be angry about their situation. But I think when you're in that time of pain and hurt, that's when it's easier to come close to Jesus. And sometimes that our stubbornness, the way we were taught, is to keep going on, keep, do it yourself, don't rely on somebody else. Just be strong, chin up, just keep, but sometimes it just keeps going and going and going until, because God's there like, hey, I'm here, come to me, talk to me, I'm here to help you. And when you're fighting him through that, well, sometimes you just end up in the same situation longer. And I have to say, anyone out there listening, if you're struggling with something right now, you've tried everything, it's like, nothing's working. Just try spending 3 days, just 3 days. Because every time you think about your trouble, think about a God that's right there ready to help you. And I think if you can do that through those 3 days or longer, but I'm trying to be realistic with modern Americans. If you can do something for 3 days, I think you'll see the fruit of that relationship and just let it grow. And just because you found Jesus doesn't mean that your struggles will be over. He's gonna try to make you into a better person, and sometimes you have to be ready for that. But as long as once you get past that first part of knowing him, everything else becomes a lot more easy.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Ben. All right, guys. This wraps up episode 3 of Entering the Chat. What do you think about Jesus? We have more interesting people coming down the pipeline. This interviews for Entering the Chat, they air the 23rd of every month. So this one will air August 23rd, my birthday, Ben. And so anyway, I am 3+Kei. I'm here to encourage you to pursue the smile by prioritizing the Lord, your physical health, and persistent education. And this is Ben with the YouTube channel,
Lake Missoula Aquatics and Plants.
All right. Hit that subscribe button. Lake Missoula Aquatics and Plants will be directly in the description. So make sure that you subscribe to his channel. And with that, guys, I will talk to you later. Bye.